Actually begins when the uterus sheds its lining through the vagina, resulting in what is commonly called your period. So the day bleeding begins is day 1 of your cycle. At this point, hormones from the brain trigger the development of eggs in the ovaries, which in turn produce estrogen. Only one egg fully matures within a protective sac, known as the follicle, and it continues to produce estrogen. This estrogen causes the lining of the uterus to thicken and to prepare for pregnancy. The mature egg is expelled from the ovary about 14 days after the cycle begins and starts its journey down the fallopian tube. Throughout the month, a woman's cervix produces mucus. At about the same time the egg is released, the cervix produces additional mucus. If a woman were to have sex at this point, this mucus would help nourish the man's sperm and help move them towards the egg for fertilization. If fertilization occurs, this newly formed embryo will travel down the fallopian tube to implant in the uterus, and pregnancy begins. If fertilization or implantation doesn't happen, the cycle begins again, and the egg is flushed out when the uterus sheds its lining at the beginning of a new...
Main players in the female reproductive cycle are the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. Their activities are closely coordinated. Each month, one or other ovary releases a single egg, an event known as ovulation. It is brought about by a series of complex interactions between the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. The pituitary gland is itself under the control of this small area of the brain known as the hypothalamus. A new menstrual cycle begins when the nerve cells of this center secrete a hormone called gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, GnRH, into the network of blood vessels which surrounds the pituitary gland. Stimulated by pulses of gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, cells in the pituitary gland secrete another hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH. FSH travels in the bloodstream, reaching the ovaries. There it stimulates the formation and growth of an ovarian follicle in one or other ovary. The follicle consists of an egg, a number of surrounding cells which secrete estrogen hormones, and fluid. FSH helps the egg to mature and prepares it for release. As the follicle matures, the hypothalamus increases secretion of GnRH. This in turn stimulates the pituitary to secrete a second hormone which acts on the ovary. This is luteinizing hormone, or LH. Toward the middle of the cycle, there is a sudden peak in the blood level of LH. This acts as the trigger for ovulation. Within minutes of its release, the egg is guided by suction through the fringed opening of the outer end of the fallopian tube, starting it on a journey which will take 5 or 6 days as it passes down the tube and finally reaches the cavity of the uterus. Meanwhile, after the follicle ruptures, it is converted into this yellowish body known as the corpus luteum. Cells of the corpus luteum secrete the hormone progesterone, which brings about important changes in the lining of the uterus, preparing it for possible pregnancy. In fact, the lining of the uterus, known as the endometrium, undergoes changes in response to hormone levels during the cycle. In the first half of the cycle, known as the follicular phase, the developing follicle secretes increasing amounts of estrogen hormone, which encourages regeneration of the endometrium. After ovulation, there are important changes in the endometrium, aimed at making it suitable to receive a fertilized egg. These changes are brought about by a secretion of progesterone from the corpus luteum. The secretion of progesterone is maintained for several days, but if the egg is not fertilized in that time, the corpus luteum withers, and falling levels of progesterone and estrogen trigger the shedding of the uterine lining as the menstrual flow. The cycle then starts again. But if the egg is fertilized, no menstruation occurs, as the corpus luteum continues to function, secreting progesterone during the first 3 months of the pregnancy. Thereafter, numerous changes occur to support the developing embryo.
Breastfeeding is a way to nourish your baby with breast milk from your own body. Breast milk is produced in mammary glands. From there, it travels through milk ducts to openings in your nipples. When your baby suckles on your nipples, your body releases the hormones prolactin and oxytocin. Prolactin controls milk production, and oxytocin controls the release or letdown of milk through milk ducts. Breastfeeding benefits your baby by providing the optimal balance.
The primary role of the male reproductive system is to produce and deliver sperm to fertilize an egg in the female. These sperm are produced outside of the body cavity by the testicles, which are located in the scrotum. The scrotum protects and supports the male reproductive organs that are located outside of the body cavity. These include the testicles, epididymis, and vas deferens. The testicles produce about 300 million sperm each day. However, this is possible only if the temperature of the testicle is 93.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The scrotum maintains this temperature by adjusting how closely it holds the testicles to the body. The interior of each testicle consists of multiple lobules, containing 2 or 3 seminiferous tubules. It is within these tubules that sperm formation begins. The sperm moves out of the tubules into the epididymis and then into the vas deferens. The vas deferens carry the sperm upward into the body cavity. After the sperm leaves the vas deferens through the ejaculatory ducts, they pass the openings of the seminal vesicles. The seminal vesicles, which are located near the base of the ejaculatory ducts, secrete a thick yellow substance to nourish the sperm. This secretion forms 60% of the volume of the semen. Semen is the sperm-containing fluid that is ejaculated at the climax of male sexual excitement. From here, the semen travels into the 8-inch long urethra, which transports both urine and semen, but not at the same time. At first, the urethra is surrounded by the prostate gland, and then it is surrounded and protected externally by the penis that is relaxed except during sexual excitement. During sexual excitement, the penis stiffens and enlarges so it can deliver the sperm into the female vagina. During the expelling of the semen, which is known as ejaculation, the prostate gland secretes a thick alkaline fluid that increases the ability of the sperm to move in the semen. Located just below the prostate gland are the bulbourethral glands. These glands open into the urethra, and, during sexual arousal, they secrete the pre-ejaculate fluid that flushes out any residual urine from the urethra. It also lubricates the urethra to help the sperm pass through. When the male ejaculates into the vagina of the female, the sperm must travel upward through the uterus to fertilize the egg in the fallopian tube.